Hey.
Alright, y'all, we had a hectic NBA trade deadline day. No star players are switching teams, but plenty of role players are joining contending teams and deepening benches. And even though it might not have seemed like there were any big crazy moves, there were some good moves today. But without further ado, we have 18 trades to get through. I hope I didn't miss any, but let's hop right into it. First up, we had Simone Fontecchio getting traded to the Detroit Pistons, and in return, the Jazz get Kevin Knox, a 2024 second-round pick, and the draft rights to Gabriel Procida. Now, funny enough, Kevin Knox was actually like a top 5 player for the Pistons this season after being signed onto the team a couple weeks in. And I did see a lot of Pistons fans asking the question of if Simone Fontecchio is even worth it, and a lot of people probably don't even know who Simone Fontecchio is. So, quick rundown: pretty good shooter, can attack off the catch, solid defender. He is in his late 20s and he's on the last year of his deal, so the belief is that the Pistons are going to try and re-sign him and finally get some stability at that forward position, so we're hoping for the best. Trade 2. The Boston Celtics acquire Xavier Tillman from the Grizzlies for Lamar Stevens and 2 second-round picks in the future. Great pickup for the Celtics. Me, Celtics fan, huge fan of this trade. Xavier Tillman is a very solid Swiss Army knife, big off the bench. You'll be able to play him with any of the Boston bigs, Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, even if you want to run like Tatum at the 4, you can run Tillman at the 5. I love the fit. I hope he contributes to a lot of wins in the postseason. Trade number 3. The Minnesota Timberwolves acquire Monte Morris from Detroit for Shake Milton, Troy Brown, and a 2030 second-round pick. Now, a lot of people, including me, were hoping for the best for Shake Milton in Minnesota at that backup point guard spot, but it just never really worked out, so the Timberwolves decided to get a more reliable veteran in Monte Morris. I like the deal. I think people were overhyping it a little bit. I also don't love them losing Troy Brown Jr., but a bunch of people on Twitter were making great points that, come playoff time, Shake Milton and Troy Brown Jr. are probably going to get cut from their rotation as it shrunk down, and Monte Morris will be able to eat up those minutes. Trade number 4. The Philadelphia 76ers acquire Buddy Hield from the Indiana Pacers, and they send back Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round draft picks. Now, Sixers get an absolute sniper in Buddy Hield. I believe he's also on a contract year, so I'll be interested to see what he does this offseason, especially since there's the whole, Joel Embiid injury going on right now. Regardless, the Sixers need shooters. Buddy Hield, one of the best shooters of recent history. As for the Pacers, we'll be seeing Marcus Morris's name later. Quick little round of applause for Furkan Korkmaz as he was finally given his trade request, even though he unfortunately will be waived by the Pacers. Still a W in my eyes. Trade number 5. The Toronto Raptors get Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji for Kyra Lewis, Otto Porter, and a 2024 first-round draft pick. And if you were to give me a nickel for every time that the Toronto Raptors have traded for a white center and given away a first-round draft pick in the last 2 years for it, I'd only have 2 nickels, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Anyway, I like the deal. Olynyk's a solid player. Ochai is a former first-round pick who just wasn't really seeing minutes in Utah, so I'm very excited to see what he's able to do in Toronto with some more playing time. As for Utah, this is going to free up some minutes for their younger guys. I also just am still a fan of Kyra Lewis. I'm really excited to see what he can do under the mentorship of Chris Dunn. Otto Porter, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets waived. He hasn't yet, but he's old. I don't know. And the Jazz somehow come away with another first-round pick that Danny Ainge will probably expertly use in this next draft. Trade number 6, the Oklahoma City Thunder get Gordon Hayward in return for Trey Mann, Davis Bertans, Vasily Micic, and I believe there are a few second-round picks thrown in there. Anyway, this is a simple one. Good pickup for the Thunder. They get Gordon Hayward, who, if healthy, will be a really good 5th starter for them. He can shoot, he can pass, he can dribble, he can defend somewhat. Regardless, starting him over Josh Giddey for the rest of the season, assuming he's healthy, will be a big upgrade for Oklahoma City. Plus, they gave up practically nothing for him. I mean, none of Mann, Bertans, or Micic were really seeing minutes, if any, so again, they got him for pennies on the dollar. Trade number 7 is our first kind of nothing trade. Philadelphia sends Daniel House to the Detroit Pistons with a second-round pick in 2024, and Daniel House would be waived, so the Pistons don't even take him onto the roster. Meanwhile, Philly just clears up salary cap space and gets a roster spot out of this deal. But we're back to a big trade with trade number 8 as the Knicks acquire Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks. In return, they send to Detroit Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, Malachi Malachi Flynn, Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 second-round picks. Now, I believe Arcidiacono was waived. If he hasn't, he probably will be. I don't really remember off the top of my head right now. But obviously, a great deal for the New York Knicks as they acquire 2 scoring threats to a team that desperately needed some scoring threats. And, fans might be surprised at how good Bogdanovic actually is. He's a bucket. He was, scoring like 20 a game for Detroit, which might not sound impressive, but I can tell you as someone who watched a few of those games this season, very impressive. And Alec Burks also just recently had like a bunch of 30-point games, and he's, back in New York, and it wasn't a great first stint, but maybe with a better team around him, he'll actually shoot the ball this time. Trade number 9, we have Dallas getting a decent backup center in Daniel Gafford as they trade away Rashawn Holmes and draft compensation that has not been named yet, at least to my knowledge. And like I said, Dallas is going to shore up that center rotation. Derek Lively's been awesome. I expect him to remain the starter, but Daniel Gafford will be a good, solid option off the bench rather than having to run, Maxi Kleber or Dwight Powell. They can solidify that spot, get Luka another lob threat, and he can also play some defense for them. So, it won't be on Derek Lively to just defend the rim for 48 minutes a game, even while he's on the bench. Trade number 10 was the funniest trade of the day, as the Toronto Raptors acquire Spencer Dinwiddie in return for Dennis Schroeder and Thad Young, and they would waive Spencer Dinwiddie to save some money. Now, the funny part about this one is both organizations were just pissed off at the player that they sent away. Most notably, Spencer Dinwiddie, the night before the trade deadline, Wednesday night, tweeted out something about riding bench in the 4th quarter. So I'd imagine that had something to do with this deal. And another big trade at trade 11 as the Dallas Mavericks get PJ Washington and 2 seconds for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 1st-round pick in 2027. PJ Washington has been a pretty inconsistent player, but when he's been good, he's been really good, and he is exactly what this Dallas Mavericks team needs: a big body 4 that can also go and score the ball and rebound and play a little defense. Essentially everything that Grant Williams wasn't doing this season. I still have no idea how Grant Williams even got that contract. I even remember when he got signed that everyone was calling this a good deal. Literally everyone except for the Celtics fans, who were right the entire time and saying that Grant Williams was overpaid and would never perform up to that money. Still love the man, but how did he get paid that much? Trade 12 is currently our only 3-team trade, which is a little surprising because I feel like last year we had like 10 3-team trades and like a 4-team trade. Anyway, the Suns get Royce O'Neal and big body David Roddy. They send away Keita Bates-Diop, Jordan Goodwin, Chimezie Metu, and 3 second-round picks to Brooklyn. Memphis also gets Yuta Watanabe, and I believe they got some draft compensation as well. Now the headline here, Phoenix obviously trying to get that bench buffed up a little bit. Royce O'Neal will be a great addition. David Roddy might be able to chip in here and there. They essentially take all of that mass of just mid on that bench and try to salvage 2 good pieces out of it. We'll see how it works. Trade 13, another kind of funny trade as Milwaukee acquires Patrick Beverley for Cam Payne and a 2027 second-round pick. Cam Payne just wasn't really working out at the bench point guard spot. Patrick Beverley will actually provide them some good defense and some good minutes when he's on the court. Yeah, that's about it for this one. Trade 14, the Indiana Pacers acquired Doug McDermott, which honestly, I think this might be the most low-key big trade of the day, as Doug McDermott is a fantastic shooter. Put him around Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton, and he's going to be letting it rip and hitting a lot of threes. And in return, these Spurs get Marcus Morris, who I told you would be back in this video, but unfortunately he is bought out from the Spurs. They also get a second-round pick and some cold hard cash. Trade 15 is another minor one. The Sacramento Kings get Robin Lopez, who unfortunately will be waived, along with some cash, while the Milwaukee Bucks open up a free roster spot and save a little bit of money. And pretty much every trade from here on out is a relatively small one, so we're just gonna go rapid fire mode real quick. Trade 16, the Celtics get Jaden Springer for a second-round pick. This is just take a flyer kind of guy. Springer's had some good games defensively. He is a long-armed guard / wing, and they'll just provide some nice depth for the Boston Celtics. And to free up that roster spot, we have trade 17, where the Celtics send away Delano Banton to the Portland Trailblazers for a second-round pick. And then finally, we have trade 18, where the Indiana Pacers acquire Corey Joseph, who was then promptly waived. They also got some cash while sending back a second-round pick to the Warriors, who free up some cap space and get a roster spot. So those were all of the trades. Let me know what you guys think. Which one was the most low-key? Which one was the biggest? Which one was the worst? Which one was the best? We're also going to quickly pour one out for the other casualties of today, just other guys who were waived from their respective rosters, as the Pistons got rid of Danilo Gallinari, Killian Hayes, and Joe Harris. The Charlotte Hornets got rid of James Bouknight, and the Memphis Grizzlies waived Victor Oladipo. But that's all I got for this one. Again, fun trade deadline day. I love this day. A lot of news and information and new rosters and shakeups. It's always a really exciting day for us NBA fans, and I'm happy to share it with y'all. As always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of those good things, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.